There's a concept in improv comedy called gibberish, where one person will be speaking in a fake made-up language that should sound like a language but not make any sense. What we're going to do is a basic gibberish exercise called gibberish translation. So in this version, I'm going to be an expert on some topic, giving a lecture. But I'm going to be giving that lecture in gibberish. Fred is going to be a translator who is going to translate to you all the things that I am talking about. So to begin, I need something to be an expert on. So Fred, you want to tell me?
You'll be an expert on alligator soup.
I'm an expert on alligator soup. So let's see how this goes.
When one is looking for the precise spot in the soup, it is important to grab with gusto the alligator head. When extracting the mucus from the head, one must be careful to not get one's hand caught in the live alligator. But when you do it right, the resulting flavor is unbelievable. And that's how you do alligator soup.
Okay, very nice. So that was an example of gibberish expert translation. And there's quite a few things. It's a silly game, and this is another performance type game, but there are quite a few things you can take away from that. Number one, this is an excellent exercise in getting people to be more expressive. Both Fred and I, we've used this when we train speakers to be better speakers, because when you can't use regular English, you have to use...
It's all about your emotions, it's all about your gestures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're using all the nonverbal things, you combine them all into one. And one thing we tell speakers to do is if you have a story, for example, tell it in gibberish form, just in practice, because you'll do everything over the top, your movements, your facials, and you can tone it down and incorporate those elements, but it's a great way to learn how to express yourself.
Now, if people are doing this exercise after watching the video, a couple suggestions. Number one is, there's a temptation, which we see oftentimes up on stage, for people to go through and give this long explanation, and the person who's translating to go, yes, to do one word, because it gets a laugh. And
yeah, it'll always get a laugh.
But
it defeats the purpose of...
Yeah, it defeats the purpose, and it's not really doing what we're trying to do here.
Right, and in fact, your job, what Fred did a real nice job is, as the translator, is to really pay attention and see what the expert in gibberish is doing. So,
both in terms of tonality and in terms of gestures.
Right, so if I sound angry, he wants to do an angry translation. If I'm moving like I'm stirring the soup, he's going to incorporate that. There's a tendency for people who aren't so trusting in the improv process for the translator to sit there and not even pay attention, but just think of what funny thing they can say as their translation. That's not what it's all about.
So how can people use this, and when should they use it, and what are we trying to get accomplished here?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I think the speaking element is a huge one, is to be more expressive. This one also is a great way of just breaking people out of their shell a little bit, because it's a little bit goofy, but it's safe because since I'm speaking in gibberish, I don't have to worry about people being offended by what I say. It's almost like, I know team building gets a bad rap, but almost like a team building icebreaker type exercise. A very good way of training communication, and if you get two people to communicate using only gibberish, it really forces them out of their heads to start paying attention to body language and tonality.
I would agree. Good.